This channel is focused on philosophy for many good reasons. So when I talk about individualism here, I'm less concerned about political positions and the push and pull between the state and the individual. I'm more concerned with the blend of the agent with their reality that makes it impossible to completely separate the agent from their environment and the influences of other agents. We don't jump to relativism just to make things easy. We understand that it's complex and we dig more, we bring more into the spotlight, we discover new, deeper paths that highlight clearer contingencies than the past had to offer. This is the search. Let's talk about individualism and anti-individualism. Individualism and anti-individualism are two contrasting views in philosophy that focus on the nature of the self, personal identity, and autonomy within society. Each approach has implications across moral, political, epistemological, and social dimensions of philosophy. Individualism emphasizes the primacy and autonomy of the individual, holding that individuals are distinct, self-contained beings with inherent value, rights, and moral responsibilities. From this viewpoint, ethics. Individualism often promotes the idea that individuals are morally responsible for their actions and should pursue personal happiness, self-fulfillment, and authenticity. Epistemology. In epistemology, individualism can lead to internalism, the idea that knowledge and belief formation are processes grounded in the individual's mental states and experiences. The individual is seen as the primary agent in interpreting and understanding the world. Social ontology. Individualism often holds that society is composed of individuals who make decisions independently of one another. Each person is seen as a rational agent, and society emerges as a sum of individual choices rather than something that imposes its nature on the individual. Existentialism. Existentialist thinkers like Jean-Paul Sartre emphasize individualism through the idea of personal responsibility and freedom, advocating that each person must create their own meaning in life without relying on pre-existing social or religious structures. So we all basically understand that it's impossible to be an individual truly. Just like everything in life, there's this balanced scale of timelines of contingencies scraping past each other, creating a projection that is our reality. Within the individual, like we see in the next section, there's many group influences that we need as tools. Our individuality can be expressed by these tools afforded us, and we may well make contributions to these tools, but we stand on the shoulders of giants that lived before us, and their contingencies shine through us. Quantitatively, I am one and experience death in the end alone. I've said in other videos, I believe the only way that we are truly individual is through a deterministic bubble we inherit through evolution. Everything that we are is deterministically contingent, but physically as agents, we are one, not zero. We are present for some time, not absent. And whatever time we occupy a place in space, nothing else can occupy that space. That's deterministic individuality. I believe that it's the only way that we can be individual in this deterministic sense, that we have a forced quantitative lens that emerges from within the structures of evolution. Without this agent container, we'd just be in a sea of substance. Anti-individualism. Anti-individualism challenges the view that the self is entirely independent or self-sufficient, emphasizing the interdependence of individuals within a larger social, cultural, or historical context. Ethics. Anti-individualists argue that moral actions cannot be defined solely by individual desires and choices, emphasizing the importance of relationships, community, and social obligations. Communitarian thinkers like Charles Taylor argued that individual entities are deeply shaped by their communities and that moral values cannot be determined in isolation. Political theory. In political theory, anti-individualism often underpins collectivist or communitarian ideologies. It argues that individuals' identities and purposes are strongly influenced, if not determined, by the community. The state or community is sometimes seen as having the authority to direct individuals toward a shared good, as seen in some forms of socialism or communitarianism. Epistemology. In epistemology, anti-individualism is linked to externalism, which posits that knowledge is not merely an individual phenomenon, but is shaped by one's environment and social context. Social ontology. Anti-individualism suggests that individuals are fundamentally social beings whose identities are constructed in and through their relationships with others. The self is not independent, but is shaped by social structures, norms, and institutions. This view has roots in Hegelian philosophy, where self-identity and freedom are realized through relationships within the community. Collective identity and existentialism. Thinkers like Martin Heidegger argued that individuals are always being with others, and that authentic self-understanding requires acknowledging the interconnectedness of our existence with that of others. Individualism versus anti-individualism in practice. The debate between individualism and anti-individualism is ongoing and spans different schools of thought. For example, in political discourse, individualism is often associated with libertarian or liberal ideologies, while anti-individualism aligns more closely with socialism and communitarianism or collectivism. In epistemology, these views differ in how they treat the source and justification of knowledge. Social psychologists and sociologists often study the extent to which individual autonomy can exist within social constraints. Getting to the core of what is going on with these fundamental paradoxical ideas and understanding truly what the underlying scales are is the core of what philosophy is. If you want to be hardcore, yes, study other philosophers, pay respect to the beauty they created. But new wealth is to be discovered by digging down on these seemingly unresolved issues and turning up new perspectives that haven't been thought of before. Always reacting with new science, with respect and change, but never confining ourselves to the limits of what is currently measurable and falsifiable. Answering the questions of why or what we ought to do is something science may never be able to answer. Some of the concepts we work from in philosophy are not provable at all, but still represent contingencies and options that emerge from objective reality. The crossover between evaluation and action is a deterministic universal and will always be there in a matter of form. If you like this kind of philosophical subject matter, help us out by liking the video and subscribing to the channel.